What's up, guys, and welcome back to a new video on my YouTube channel. In today's video I will share with you my thoughts on Solana, what I see in this chart in combination with the USDT USDC dominance, with a liquidation heat map, and with the social metric score. Okay, the most important indicators to measure whether the trend is upwards or the trend is going downwards, right? And what we can see on Solana here, this is a daily chart, okay? We can see that Solana pumped hugely, right? From here, from September 23 to January 25, 1,400%, okay? And after such a big move up, okay, there has to be a move down, right? Which we saw here, okay? 1,400% up, and after that 67-68% down. All right, the thing is now that this chart, for me, the thing is, we never see something doing just a move down and then boom 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 moving up. That's very rarely to see, okay? That's very, very rarely to see. And what I see right now is, an ABC correction, kind of like move down, then a bullish move up to get the people bullish again, and after that another dump and a lower low, right? A lower low than the A correction, so that dumps a little bit more than that, possibly, okay, possibly. And the thing is, what speaks for that is this is called a rising wedge, okay? We see a higher low, higher low, higher high, higher high, higher high, higher high, and it's all inside this wedge here, okay? And the thing is, while moving up, you can see what happens on the RSI chart for especially this part here, okay? So we had a first high here, another double top, kind of, okay? Boom, bottom, right? We saw some divergence here, here it was high. The higher high was a lower high on the RSI, right? The relative strength index. It pumped again, okay? A good high here, right? Then a dump. And now what we see is, okay, here's a high, but it was, approximately the same. But the RSI chart shows that it's weaker than this high before, okay? And now, while going more high, higher than these highs, boom, another higher high, another higher high, and now we're moving like this, and we see the RSI, the chart, the demand is getting weaker, basically, okay? And that's a very, very bearish sign, okay? Because just looking at the rising wedge, right, also called, you can also see it as a bear trap, right? You see the dump, and now you see like the bear flag, and then boom, another dump, okay? And only by looking at the fact that this is a rising wedge, okay, a rising wedge or a bear flag, and 70% of the times this chart is going down afterwards, right? Once we hit the top, this chart will go down, and that just looking at the fact that this is, okay, a bear flag and a rising wedge, and in combination with the RSI, which confirms the fact that this is getting weaker moving up, okay, the chances are getting higher, right? The volume is not that high, okay? The volume is getting kind of lower also, right? While moving up here it got a little bit bigger, all right? Here it got a little bit bigger, but now, since a couple of days, okay, it's going down. And the RSI is going down, and what else is down? That's the only point, right? Because I thought, right, that was my thesis, that the beginning of September, somewhere from the 2nd September to the first week, which is right now, okay, we're right now at the 8th of September, so it's basically now the second week, exactly the start of the second week, Monday. I thought that right now is the time where we might drop, okay, because we saw the last cycles. I can show you again. I need to show you on Bitcoin. I hope it appears. Yeah, we can see it the last cycles, okay, on Bitcoin, for example, where it's always the case, okay, it was always the case. A pump from July, okay, starting here, here's end of July, kind of, boom, pump, right, to the end of August, beginning of September, and then a dump, okay. Was always August was always a good month, and the September was a negative month, okay, looking at percentage. In 2021 we saw the same thing happening, right? And in 2013 also, show you also that, you know, end of July, bottom, boom, pump until, you know, first week September, 6th of September, and the 7th, boom, the start of the correction, right? And this is exactly, guys, the ABC correction I'm talking about, okay? This is what happens, you know, what happens, yeah, not always, but it happens often, okay? We see boom and dump, a bounce back up, and another dump, which is a lower low than we saw before here, right? This is a lower low here. And this is what I'm expecting on Solana, because it's the same exact pattern, right? We saw a massive dump within 2-3 months. Then since 4 or 5 months, we saw boom, you know, a bounce back up, a big bounce back up. And then, you know, the next weeks, we could see the move down, the massive move down. You know, therefore, you know, there have to be crazy news happening actually for the people to get that bearish. Because looking at Solana, okay, the first bottom was at $95, right? So when we see Solana getting below this low, okay, below $95 level, which means that from today's price, another minus 50% plus, right? Minus 55% plus trade, okay? And you know, it's hard to say that when actually right now everyone starts to get a little bit more bullish. Everyone thinks altcoin season is finally there, and then ooh, all of a sudden this bear, you know, I'm not a bear, I'm not a bull, I'm not a bear, I'm just me trying to be correct about the market and trying to do the right moves, right? That's all that is all it is about, because you know, it doesn't matter how you do it, you know, the only thing is, and the only question is, are you correct or are you right? You know, are you making money on trading? And it doesn't matter which indicator you use. If you're correct and if you know, or if you see the market future correctly, you'll make money, and that's all about. So that's my take on Solana here, right? Because also I want to show, you know, because first of all, that's the only thing, right? The social media activity is very low. That's my only issue, because we saw, you know, new Twitter followers, okay? Let me reset the zoom. Okay, we saw new Twitter followers, right? And every time the Twitter followers rose, this is an Ethereum chart, right? Every time the social metrics go, or actually the new Twitter followers, right, got more, Ethereum had a top, right? We can see it here. You know, I'll zoom in on this. Okay, we can see it here. For example, March 24. I don't know why it's not appearing, but you know, it's March 24. We saw the Twitter followers rising massively, right? Right in this area, Ethereum had a top, and the Twitter followers rose, right? Then we dumped, and we saw another pump. You know, Twitter followers didn't came back and dumped again. The same thing, November 24. We saw Ethereum pumping, and the new Twitter followers pumped as well. Okay, and that was also the sign of a top for Ethereum. You know, a midterm top. A dump. You know, the Twitter followers got back in again. That, you know, that's happens sometimes when the charts dump, you know, news are appearing, oh, crypto's going down, and then, you know, some people might join then, okay? And then they might buy, you know, the bottom, guys. Forever bottom, you have the cheapest prices ever here, and boom, a dump more, right? Because also in January 25, there were some projects like Solana, I showed you, right? Like Solana, which had its peak in January 25 again. Another good peak here, 18th of January. So some altcoins did perform very good in January. That's why the social media or the new Twitter follows, right, rose. But we can see it with Twitter follows, we can see it with YouTube followers, we can see it with the YouTube views, we can see it, you know, the social metrics score in general. I can show you on the next chart, you know. And then the thing is, now we pump, Ethereum pumped, altcoins pumped slightly, Ethereum did a new all-time high, altcoins pumped slightly, but the Twitter new followers, guys, they're nothing. That's peanuts here. Okay, they're very low still, very low, huge upside potential, because we can see always at the new top, you know, it's, you know, it was always 15,000 plus new Twitter followers a day, right? 15,000 plus here. On average, it's between the 10K line and the 20K line, around this area here, okay? You can see it. Here it was also, you know, 30K again, right? That's a good time to take some profits, because in altcoin season, we will, you know, get above these levels of 30K, because we saw it in 2021, right? Altcoin season happened, Ethereum had its peak, all-time high, and boom, new Twitter followers at above 100,000. Okay, that's huge. And so I said it on my Twitter many times. 70K, you know, 70, 50, you know, starting from the 50K range in an altcoin season, 50K range is a good time to take profits, because what do we see here, for example? 50K exactly here, right? This is exactly here the time, you know, 50K were here, approximately between here, okay, right? Headed high, another higher high, and then boom, a little bit lower, right? Ethereum dumped a little bit. Then we were at 50K, 50,000 new Twitter followers, 40 to 50,000. And that's the point where you might, you know, of course you can take profits this way up also. When you see the Twitter followers rising above 20K plus, that's also a good time to take some profits, right? And then the chart pumps more and more, Twitter followers rise slightly, then 50K plus, that's where you really want to take some profits. At 50K plus is a very good level to take some profits, okay? You see Ethereum falling and you just wait then, okay? You just wait. You can also take more profits, but, you know, you don't want to be too bearish, especially when you know there's much more upside, because this was basically in May, right? Normally it's at the end of the year, as we saw it here, okay? And the thing is, guys, 2021 in May, everybody thought, okay, we already had the altcoin pump, right? We already had the altcoin pump, and we cannot do it again, right? The market is dead, crypto is dead. May was the time to make money. Now it's over, right? And boom, what do we see in November, right? October to December, or to January actually, we saw boom, Ethereum altcoins did very well again, and the new Twitter followers had its peak all-time high, okay? And we can see that, you know, same logic. At 50K, you want to take some profits, all right? 50K is around here, right? Okay, we're at the top. Slightly bounce, you know, slightly dump lower. Bounce back up. You could take some profits here at 50K. Roughly, you know, 40 to 50K is a good level. Could also, as I said, 20K plus, you can start, you know, and then step by step, take more and more profits to have a good average here around, right? Then dumped, okay? And we saw the 50K level again. You could take another profits, wait a little bit, it pumps more, take another profits here, another profits here. Then you see, right, at some point when you see the chart or the new Twitter followers going above 75K, guys, that's really where the time where you want to size out, right? You want to get out. You want to sell your bags in a good amount, right? Maybe not everything, but you want to sell good, because at some point when there's so many new followers, so many people joining this space, there's not many people left to join, right? Because all these people join here, and then sometime it will have its peak, you know, it will go down, it will have a bounce back up, and then boom, fall, right? From, what was the price of Ethereum here? Can I see it? The price of Ethereum was 4.6 thousand, okay? From 4.6K, like here's 4.8K, 4.6K, down to 2.5K. You don't want to hold that, guys. You really don't want to hold that, especially when you know now's the bear market, right? After this top, there's no chance that we'll get up to this level, right? We might have a small bounce back up to 3K, 3.5K, but you will never get back to this level. And especially, you know, when you know you were up huge here, you want to take some profits. Don't let your ego win, guys. Look at it rationally. Don't be greedy at the times when you think, oh, my backs just did a 10x. Let me just get a 2x more, right? I did it from 10K to 100K. Let me just get a 2x more, guys. I'm telling you, don't gamble these gains, because there will be many more opportunities to make safe 2, 3, 5, 10x, right? Instead of this risky another 2x, right? You could just take it out, chill, wait. Maybe you need to wait a year or 2 years, right? But then the time comes when Ethereum bottoms, okay? And you'll have the chance to buy Ethereum then, right? If you did the same exact logic, right? You sold here, you said, I will not wait for another, you know, you sold, let's say you sold at an average, right? We saw Ethereum here at 4 point, let's say, yeah, roughly 4.8, 4.9K, you know, this lows at 2K, okay? Let's say you sold at 3K, right? 3.5K based on the metrics I just gave you, right? The social metrics. And this just to the followers. It's always for, also for YouTube. I'll come to that in a second, okay? So you see, it pumped, right? You sell an average, let's say here, 3.5K ish, right? So it's here, you sell on this top, you wait, maybe you sell a little bit here because you're afraid. At 3K you sell a little bit, then you sell at 3.75, you sell at 4.5, and you sell at, you know, 4 again, and you know, you have an average of 3.5, 4K, right? And all of a sudden you say, you know, you said, I don't want to wait for the 8K level because everybody's screaming actually 10K. I don't want to wait for the 2X. Okay, I will not wait. I'll just take out my 100K. I turn my 10K into, you know, here it's $140. So let's say, you know, if you bought at $350, for example, Ethereum, which is, you know, let's say you bought on this pump here, right? $350, did a 10x, 10K into 100,000. Everybody screams for 10K Ethereum safe bet for this year, blah, 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 blah. You say, no, fuck you guys. I don't want to listen to you. You know, I will just get out with my 100K. You know, I have 90K in profit, right? I can use 20K for my life, 30K for my life, but 70K I'll leave on the side, right? And I wait for a good moment to put back in. And we're talking about spot trading, right? No leverage, nothing. Okay, you cannot get liquidated. That's, you know, it's safe if you know how to trade the markets, okay, in a brighter term, okay. And you say, I don't want to, you know, wait for the another 2x. Boom, Ethereum dumps, it pumps, you know, the same thing I just talked about Solana, right? A, B, C, boom. And the C can go massively lower also, or, you know, slightly lower. It depends, you know, on the market circumstances. And then, you know, you said, I'll wait for a good time. I'll wait for a good another opportunity. And you sold at 3.5K or 4K. So you made 10x plus. And then you see Ethereum hitting the 1K level again. Oh, that's a good time to invest. Maybe I have 70K on the side. I'll invest 20 to 30K now. Okay, you invest 30K at 1K level because it might drop more. That's what you think. Okay, 30K is a good entry. It pumps, boom, 1.8K. You know, you might DCA here between 1 to 2K. Okay, so now that you sold here, because imagine selling at 4K, right? You sell at 4K, 100K. If it drops to 1K, right, which means 70%, you only have 30K left. So now you will have 30K at this position, and you'll need to wait for Ethereum to pump again to these levels, right? This will take you June 22 to roughly March 24, guys. You don't want to wait 2 years for your bags to be, the same amount they were here. That's very, very annoying. That's very and hard, to wait 2 years to get your bags equal, right, on the same amount. So you sold at 4K, you buy in here at 30K, and you still have actually 70K left, but you said 20K, 30K on the side. So I have 40K more left to DCA in, and you buy Ethereum here at between 1K to 1.5K maybe on average, right? So let's say you have an average of 1.5K, and now you have a 70K position instead of a 30K position. You now tune almost half X your position, right? And no, it is 2.5, right? 30. No, not. But you get my concept that you have more than double of your position size that you would have because you said I don't want to. Because now it's a very good entry here. It's a good and safer entry than if you look at it. Okay, you can look at it like this, guys. You can say I will wait for 2x, but on the other hand, would you now, if you had another chance to buy, would you really buy? If you had 100K now, would you put 100K in Ethereum at these levels? Would you really put 100K at Ethereum on Ethereum at $4,000 when the social metric or the social media activity is already that high? Would you do that? I mean, I wouldn't. I don't know about you, but I definitely wouldn't. And that's an easy view you can take, right? Would I do it? Would I invest more for a 2x here? I will never do that. You see it pumping from hundreds of dollars to 4 or 5K, right? You see the social metric score, the new Twitter followers rising massively, and it's new peak all-time high. Would you really invest your money here and hope for another 2x? Never ever, Take out your money, wait for the time. Okay, that's another point. I lost actually my my idea, my thoughts on, I just want to show you real quick on the social metric score. Let me show you the dashboard right now on the social metric score. Exactly, this is just the Twitter analysis, but it's very reliable, okay? Because the social metric score, guys, it looks even worse, okay? And that's the only bearish signal why I am of the opinion that it could also not dump yet, because there is not a lot retail here, but which does mean that of course the chart doesn't dump, right? Which of course doesn't mean that the chart might not dump, but it's not a good sign for the long term, because it's not a top. It's not the cycle top. That's what we can say right now. We don't never no chance we have seen the cycle top here. You can see Ethereum, guys, all-time high here. The social metric score, look at that, is all-time high on the 22nd of August. Okay, Ethereum, the social metric score is at 1.2%, guys. 1.2, whereas we saw here in May 21, the social metric score was at its peak, okay, and Ethereum also, and after that, boom, it dumped hugely, okay. So we see always these peaks in social metric score here also in 2017. We saw Ethereum pumping, social metric score pumping, boom, at 80% plus. I'm telling you, guys, if this at 50% plus, you also want to take some profits, okay? 50% plus means, here's 40% plus, you can take some profit. Boom, you see it at 50% plus, right? Boom, boom, higher high. Okay, a little bit lower, right? You want to take some profits here. So you take some profits here in beginning of August, September, and after that, I told you, right? Boom, the market dumped. Ethereum dumped, okay? Hugely, like 40% something, okay? And now it's very good for the mind also. When you sell on a pump and you see it dumping 30%, guys, this is very refreshing, because you now say, hey, very good that I took profits, and you can, you have some more peace, and it helps you for further decisions. Because if you, for example, see Ethereum pumping, you say, no, I want to wait a little bit more for it to pump. and then boom, all of a sudden it drops. You wish you would sell, because that's very, trading is not about, it's not always about just looking at it, in a way of being correct on the market, but it's also about handling your emotions, because that's actually the most difficult part, to not be greedy, and to be objectively about it, and to take your profits when needed, right? And when you see a top here, boom, another double top, you want to take some profits. Always at a double top, you see, a boom, a top, a drop, another top here at the same level. That's where you want to profit. No matter how high the social metric scores, no matter how high anything is, the volume, you always want to take some profits at resistance, or you want to buy in, or you want to sell your shorts at support, right? Some of your, depends. But as also for spot backs, you can sell. If you look at a longer term, right? June 17, high, then boom, massive dump in July 17, okay? And then in August, end of August 17, back at this highs. And you want to sell something at these levels, okay? In case, because the double top is very likely always to dump further, okay? So we saw the dump happening also in social metric score, and then boom, massive breakout, right? The dump to 40% level, and then massive breakout, again, if you sell here, for example, you see it going above 50%, right? You sell a little bit more here, it rises, you sell it a little bit more here, and on the way up, you sell. You want to sell here, and all of a sudden you see 80%, guys. As I told you, 75% is a range where you could, if you just sold here, if you sold 80% of your bags here, bro, it's perfect, right? It's perfect, because you now see, hey, this has not a lot more upside, right? It may do 50% up, but I could just wait for an easy 2 to 10x, right? Save 2 to 10x instead of a risky 50% plus, especially when you need the money. Especially, for example, now let's say you saved your ass 10K. Okay, you saved 10K, you worked for 2 years, right? To save 10K, you did a lot of jobs, you worked a lot, you saved it, you didn't, go out, you didn't do anything, and you don't want to mess it up, right? You want to be correct about your decisions. You need the money because it's life changing them, right? So let's say you did a 10x, as I told you, okay? And you sell it. You want to sell it on the way up, because let's say you wait for another 50%. Now here, all right, Ethereum price 1.4K, you say 10x, is now, you say, I want to wait for 50%, because, the social metric score is not at 100% yet. We still have 40% left, looking at it easily, in an easy way. It's not that easy, actually, but in an easy way, you say, social metric score is not topped yet, right? We didn't see 100%. We might go higher, right? And you see that, and you say, I'm waiting for another 20-30%, right? Which means another 20 to 30K, which is a lot if you only have 10K in the beginning, right? And I understand that. But then you didn't sell again, and it drops -60, -70%, and then you'll bite your ass, guys. That's really the time, because you need, the money. 100K, if you only have 10K and maybe you want to quit your job, you want to do some project, 100K is life changing in that term, okay? So you don't want to wait until another 20-30%. Trust me, don't wait for these 20-30% or another 2x. Guys, what is a 2x? If you invest good at a good time, where the risk is low, you see it here. Social metric risk is low. The market dumped hugely. Okay, a big dump down, right? Big move down. And therefore, here now you can invest half of your money. Maybe you say 50K for my projects. I have some visions I want to, fulfill for my life, to eat, to travel a little bit, this and that, right? And the other 50K you will reinvest at a good time where nobody wants to buy. And we see 80% dump, 80% to 1.6%, and then another pump, right? So you can buy here, you could sell, but you don't need to, right? You could just buy here, forget the bag, maybe buy some Ethereum, Bitcoin, Solana, whatever you want. Because at this point, everything is down bad, right? And good projects will pump again. And you wait, okay, I'll wait a little bit, I just buy an average of, let's say, $100. Ethereum went down to $80, you say average of $150 even, right? In this range. And boom, now Ethereum is at 4K. Guys, and you follow the same strategy At 40% plus, you know, you say, okay, I want to sell a little bit here, maybe 40% plus. I sell a little bit here. Ethereum at $400. Okay, I already did a 2.5x. I maybe sell 10% of my bag, 2.5x, 10% of my bag. Just, you know, I want to now another 40% metric score here. Ethereum is at $400. So now that's more than a 2x, right? That is 3x approximately. Okay, you sell another maybe 10%. Now boom, it dumps. Okay, now here you start to sell. Oh, boom. Huge move up. Ethereum at $600. You sell another 10%. Okay, Ethereum, now the social metric score at 60%. At 60%. Now you sell another 20% maybe, right? So you have 50% of your bag left. And you see the social metric score is going to 80%, right? Here, 80% plus, and here at 2K, you start to sell another 25%. Okay, so you have 25% left, a little bit move up, right? Then 3.5, 4K, you sell the rest because you say, hey, look, we're at 80% plus. You know, I will not wait for anything. I will just sell everything here at, so you now have an average, a good average of maybe 2K. I'm not sure, right? I didn't do it, the math, but you know, if you sell 30% at roughly $500 and you say, and you sell, you know, let's say 1.5K to 2K level, which means that you've turned the $150 purchase into 1.52K, which is more than a 10x, 10 to 20x, right? On 50K is now $500,000, $500,000 to $1 million. You did, right? You know, next to it, from December 18 to May 21, it takes 2.5 years, right? 2.5 years waiting. But you don't need to touch anything. You can focus on your projects. 50K, you can start something. You can travel a bit, you know. You can develop yourself, get better at what you want to get better at. And, you know, just by chilling and selling something in between, you know, here you sold 10% of your bag, right? Here your bag is up from 50K, it's already up 150K. So in between you sold already here roughly 50K, right? 30% of 150 to 200K, 30K, and with 30 to 50, no, 50K. And now you have another 50K, right? After 1.5 years approximately, you have another 50K. Okay, you can use these 50K now to reinvest into your projects, do whatever you want, and you know you still have 100K, which will be 500K plus here. And then all of a sudden you have 500K. You say, now I have a bigger vision, you know, I want to maybe help my mom, help my dad, whatever you want to do. You now have 500K plus in total, right? You can just leave another 50K for you, okay? You can, I don't know, give your mom 100K. Depends on what you want to do, but now you have 500K. That's my point on the social metric score, right? Look at the social metric score, guys. I'm talking way too much right now. Didn't want to talk too much today, but look at the social metric score, guys, because it will tell you when you should sell. The social metric score, because think about it like that, okay? You have a new fruit on the market, okay? A new fruit. And the new fruit is not that valuable, right? We can see it here. The new fruit is not that valuable here. Not many people want to buy it. Not many people want to eat it, okay? But then, you know, it gets a little bit propaganda. You know, people talk about it. It gets more hype, okay? Gets a little bit more hype locally, not globally yet. You know, a little bit. It pumps, you know, people start recognizing it. Okay, then the demand goes down because the locals already ate too much of it. You know, it doesn't taste good anymore, not special for them. But all of a sudden, you know, a foreigner visits the country and eats the fruit and says, this is crazy, I need to do a company out of it, right? And now all of a sudden, a lot of people want to eat the fruit, and more people start to eat the fruit. It's good, the fruit is very crazy, it gets a lot of hype, right? The demand for this fruit goes up, and all of a sudden, all of the people on this earth tried the fruit and ate the fruit, right? But the thing is with the fruit, after a while, you know, it doesn't taste special anymore, and it doesn't have these crazy nutritions, right? So you get more benefit like a banana or an apple, right? Banana with the magnesium and all that, it doesn't have that. So it's just for the taste, okay? So the demand now gets lower, right? Because the fruit is nice, it's refreshing, it has some minerals, but not that much, you know, so it's nothing special, but it's just the fact that it's new on this earth. So people buy it and eat it, and all of a sudden, all of the people ate it, right? And now, as you know, as a company owner, hey, look, I have this fruit, but everybody ate the fruit, right? There's not any, there's no people left that want to eat the fruit anymore because actually it's not that special, but it's like the one time trying fruit, right? So everybody tried this fruit. Now nobody wants to eat the fruit, right? It dumps again. Then people say, okay, look, let me eat it one more time because it was actually very good. It tasted very good, right? So it pumps again, demand pumps again. But after that, step by step, the demands goes lower, the hype of the fruit is gone, and all of a sudden, nobody wants to eat the fruit anymore. And that's the same with the chart, right? If there's already 100% of the people, right, 80% of the people, there's not many people to join to eat this fruit, to buy the chart, to buy the price, guys, okay? So make sure to not be greedy at these times, at these levels, and to just to just sell, because the best decision is made when you don't feel any emotion, right? When you are calm in your mind and you see the chart and you see this, you see the 80% of the people already bought the fruit. How many demand is there left? Not much, right? There is demand left, and it might pump, in a way that one person, that's the thing with the chart, because you see 80% social metric score, right? But the thing is, Ethereum was at 2K, and all of a sudden it pumped to 4K because people might join who want not to try one fruit. They might to try it for a week and they will buy 50 fruits at a time, right? And this is the same. People, rich people, for example, whales, they'll buy a lot of money, they put a lot of money in there, and they'll buy a lot of this stuff. And but don't forget, guys, after that, they just buy it to make money, right? Everybody who buys this chart wants to make money. 99% of this Ethereum, buyers want to make money. The same thing with people of this fruit. They just want to have the good taste of this fruit, right? That's why they buy it. But when they don't have the taste of the fruit, or when they think now is the best time to stop eating the fruit because it gets worse after a while, I ate it too much, and the taste doesn't taste good anymore because the specialness, the specialty about this fruit is gone. You want to sell, and the whales will sell here. They start to sell, people will buy back in, and boom, all of a sudden it drops. So nailing the top is hard, is very hard. So just you don't need to nail the top. You can just dollar cost average out, DCO on the way up, and you're good, guys. That's an easy strategy to follow. You see this chart pumping hugely within end of October 20 to May 21, right? You just sell another job, you wait a little bit, you sell the rest maybe on the bounce back up, okay? November 21. So within a year you sell and sell and sell, and you have a good bag to reinvest at 1K, as I told you again, okay? That's enough now for the social score. I also wanted to show you guys the liquidation heat map, okay? And this is the 3-month view on Solana, because actually my topic was on Solana, not on the social metric score today, but I mean, it is what it is. So the thing is, Solana has huge liquidity here at $190, approximately $190 level, okay? You can see a lot of liquidity, and also, which, supports my thesis that we see this rising wedge, ABC correction, and then dump. And the thing is, I just realized by looking at Ethereum, okay? I just realized what Ethereum did. It's a big ABC, a huge ABC correction kind of thing. But for example, here also A, B, C, and the C is always way lower. But the thing is, I cannot see that for Solana, right? I mean, if Solana did this now, it would be a mess. A, B, C, or to $60 level, $80 level, it could be, and that's the thing, right? But let's focus on the next step, right? We want to nail the next trade. We don't, I don't care about $80. I don't care about $100 right now, because I care about trying to be correct on either shorting or longing this setup, right? And nailing it. And therefore, you know, the $220 level approximately, $222, you know, is a very good level to short Solana. We see this resistance level here, okay, and we also see this liquidity, you know, level here. There's a lot of liquidity at $220 approximately, okay, and as we of course rise, people will start to short, and then, you know, we'll do a higher top at 222, 25 maybe, and then boom, dump, okay, because don't forget, guys, market maker make money betting on the other side, right? So market maker, for example, they see there's here a lot of liquidity, hundreds of millions of dollars at this level of $220 roughly, okay? So now they buy here, for example, at $200, a long position, and they start pumping the chart. They buy a long position here. That's what they do, right? They buy longs, they buy shorts, they sell or buy, then actually the market to pump the market, you know, mostly with leverage. Also, they, you know, fill the order book, and the chart pumps, right? They put, for example, sell orders already because they see there's a lot of liquidity. We'll put our sell orders maybe at a little bit higher at 221, 222, right? So once we pump this chart here, we put our, you know, our sell orders will get triggered, and we sell the chart, and then we'll dump our, you know, we have so many selling positions, you know, positions on the down, so which leads to a lot of sell pressure. And as these short sellers got liquidated, you know, boom, now it drops and drops higher, and people think, okay, this was just, you know, a retest on any support line here, maybe on the $200 level again, which is a good reason. But all of a sudden we see boom and dumping below that, pumping a little bit in the right, and then dumping and dumping and dumping, right? Because they now have a good selling, you know, good short position here, betting on the falling side, so they want to see prices falling, right? Because we also see at $140, $50 level, there's a lot of liquidity here. There's a lot of liquidity here also, okay, in the long term. And this is a possibility they could do, you know, I mean, it's also possible that, you know, like that, something like that. It's also possible that Solana just swipes this low, right? I like the idea. I really like it. Feels good. I don't know. It really feels good to swipe this low to the $120 level ish, because guys, honestly, I don't know. ABC might, you know, it might be the case, but I actually don't. I don't think we'll. You know, it's very. It really depends on the situation. I mean, if we see a World War III, then guys, this pattern will play out for real. If Donald Trump dies, this thing might play out for real as well. But, you know, the thing is right now, you know, it doesn't matter if we hit $80, $90 level or 120. Really, in first place, it matters if we now see a top here and we manage to short the top, right? Because I really see that 70-80% chance that we might dump one more time before the final altcoin season, right? Everybody's screaming at right now. Everybody left in the space, and, you know, not many people are left. That's why we might pump a little bit here, the next 1, 2, 3 days. And that's the thing, because I've almost forgot. That's the thing with the USDT dominance, right? We see the USDT dominance. Let me go on the 1 hour chart. Time frame. The USDT dominance, USDC dominance, okay, is hitting support after support on this line 1, 2, 3, 4 times already, guys. And as you might know, the more times we hit support or we see USDT dominance hitting support, the more likely it is to actually break out lower, okay? And we can see exactly this triangle forming, okay? And I mean, guys, if this thing breaks lower to the 6.2% level, the breakout, you know, is very likely to be confirmed here. That's a very good time, you know, to actually be short, actually long in the market, right? But if it doesn't, and if it doesn't get up and above this level, and, you know, it starts finding support again, here and it pumps, that's very bearish, because USDC USDT dominance is the exact opposite than crypto. You know, this pumps, crypto dumps, this dumps, crypto pumps. Okay, because money is moving into crypto, or money is moving out of crypto. Okay, and that's why, you know, I'll be patiently waiting. You know, I don't want to rush in right now. I'll be waiting for confirmation. If we see another support here and it pumps, you know, could do a, you know, go in with a little small position here, or if it breaks out, you know, then it's a time to long again, guys. I'm telling you, this is really the chart I'm looking mostly at right now, because this is the most reliable chart at the moment, in my opinion. And a level of 5.3% is a very good level to, you know, to approach. But, you know, I don't really necessarily believe that will happen. You know, 70% chance. It's, you know, it's hard right now to get a decision, but I'm still of the opinion that Solana might drop the next weeks, or not the next weeks, but it should be within the next, honestly, within the next 3 to 4 days. And if not, if it breaks out here within the next, you know, you can see it here. I mean, the decision will be made, you know, I mean, if it really does this move. Until Thursday, we'll know it. Until Thursday, we'll know it, if it moves up, if it moves down, you know, breaks out somewhere here, breaks out somewhere here. Then we move and know it, because it could also just go sideways here, and very very silently going sideways, and nobody will notice that it already broke out. And that's the time where we're long, okay, when it just moves this sideways, okay. So guys, I'll be waiting. No trades for now. Oh, actually, I opened a quick long position on Ethereum, because this RSI is very nice. You know, it looks so good, and as I said, this small pump up is absolutely possible. Okay, for Ethereum, it's a different story. It's not like Solana, but it's also, you know, not too bearish in the midterm. But the thing is, the social metric score is the only thing that triggers me. But, you know, it's only just one indicator. So more indicators speak for a bearish downside within the next 1-2 weeks. But, you know, we'll have confirmation until, yeah, I say Friday latest, okay? Until Friday latest. Oh, wait. Oh, this is Thursday next week, actually. Okay, yeah, so it takes a week, because what also could happen, guys, is that everybody right now, this is the thing, everybody expects rate cuts, and they're very likely to happen. But if they don't, I'm just saying, if they don't, you know, this thing could also pump. But, you know, I like the idea of this just moving sideways somehow, okay, doing something like that, and then all of a sudden we'll go long here at this level, and then boom, this drops and coins will pump. But we'll wait patiently, right? I have some a good amount of liquidity on the side still, because, you know, waiting for the proper confirmation. That's my take on Solana, guys, on the social metrics go. I hope you can learn something. If you have any questions, always feel free to ask me in the comment section, and let's grow together, let's win together. Stay tuned, stay healthy, take care, bye.